morning, everyone. My name is Gary Wong, and I'm a partner here at the law firm of Cohen LLP Barristers and Solicitors. For those of you who have recently joined RE/MAX Ultimate, I want to welcome you. You're joining a group of dedicated real estate professionals led by Tim Syrianos and his staff. We are here to assist you and your clients close your residential real estate transactions. So if you ever have any questions about real estate law, don't ever hesitate to send me an email or give me a call, and we'll advise you accordingly. It's a free service that we provide to all RE/MAX Ultimate agents. For you, the returning agents, I trust you're all doing well and staying safe. We look forward to assisting you to continue to grow your business and servicing your clients. We thank you for your referrals, and please enjoy the AGM.
Hi, I'm Maria Bareilles. I'm the CEO of Shines. We've been providing cleaning services to RE/MAX Ultimate real estate agents for move-ins, move-outs, and pre-listing for the past 3 years. If you're looking for services, please call me at 416-559-9270. Thank you.
Hi, RE/MAX Ultimate agents. I hope everyone is well and keeping safe. For those who don't know me, my name is Marina Panagidis. I am a mobile mortgage specialist for the TD Canada Trust and your RE/MAX partner. I've been with TD Canada Trust for over 28 years. I'm here for you and your customers' mortgage needs. I can be reached at 416-917-9466 or via the email at marina.panagidis@td.com or through the RE/MAX office. Please contact me with any questions you may have. I look forward to speaking with you. Thanks and bye for now.
Hi team, happy AGM. My name is Hamid Ali Shahi. I'm the owner of Sidekicks Media, and we specialize in design, print, digital marketing, and photography services. We have 2 full-time in-house designers to accommodate all your design needs. We cover printing, anything from business cards to signage, and anything custom. You'd be more than welcome to email us for a custom quote. Our digital marketing covers all social media platforms that have been a great success for us recently. Anybody who's inquiring, I recommend you get in touch with us for a free consultation. One of my favorite services that we offer is our photography. It covers everything from photos in premium HDR quality to 3D Matterport virtual tours and floor plans, as well as 4K video walkthroughs of properties. Samples of all of our work are available online at www.sidekicks.ca or on our Instagram page, Sidekicks Media. Let me take you through the office and introduce you to some of our team members.
Hi, I'm Kash. I'm the head graphic designer at Sidekicks Media.
My name is Abhishek Jansen. I'm a graphic designer at Sidekicks Media.
What are you working on?
Working on a feature sheet currently for 88 Empire Avenue.
Awesome.
Hi, good morning. So I'm Joseph Francis. I'm the general manager here at Sidekicks Media. I'm basically take care of the operation behind the scenes, handle all the clients' needs,
Make sure everything is done in a timely fashion for all you guys. Hi again, everybody. I just wanted to mention one more thing. One of our specialty products is unaddressed ad mail. And why it is because of the way that we operate the entire system when it comes to unaddressed ad mail. We cover an A to Z solution for you guys. Everything from the design to the print to the preparation for Canada Post and the drop off at Canada Post. I highly recommend you guys get in touch with us if you are currently doing any unaddressed ad mail farming, because we will probably have the best solution for you on the market. Thank you guys and have a good day.
Hello from Remarketer. I just wanted to say that it's been an absolute pleasure working closely with RE/MAX Ultimate team for the past couple of years now, and that we are super excited to be rolling out several new initiatives that we've been working on really hard together with Tim and Rebecca very soon. So stay tuned and stay safe.
Hello, RE/MAX Ultimate. This is John Homam, your in-house mortgage agent with Safebridge Financial for the Dundas and St. Clair offices. Just want to welcome everyone to this year's AGM and wish everybody an awesome fall season. If you have any questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out. Until the next time.
Hello, RE/MAX Ultimate. This is Ramon Bautista, your in-house mortgage broker with Safebridge Financial Group. I hope everyone is doing well and keeping safe. As a mortgage broker, we have access to a network of lenders that can provide you or your clients flexible financing solutions. So give me a call, send me an email, or page me to the office. Enjoy the AGM and I hope to see you soon.
So after the Rumble in the Jungle, called arguably the greatest sporting event of the 20th century, when the 4-1 underdog, the 32-year-old Muhammad Ali, took on the unbeaten, heavy-hitting 25-year-old George Foreman and won, Ali was asked how he was able to fight so well during this epic fight. Ali famously answered, "The fight is won or lost far away from the witnesses, behind the lines, in the gym, and out there on the road, long before I dance under those lights. You win when no one is watching." When four-time Olympian Simone Biles pulled off the unprecedented triple-double, 3 twists with 2 flips in the floor event, and the spectacular double-double, 2 twists and 2 flips on the balance beam event, the magic wasn't what she did during that floor exercise or that balance beam event that mattered. It was mostly a foregone conclusion by then. It was all that she did when the cameras weren't rolling and the audience was not in the stands watching. You see, you win when no one is watching. When the Grand Slam title holder Serena Williams won the Australian Open while pregnant, it is not what she did during that tournament that caused her to win. It was everything she did when no one was around. You win when no one is watching. And this is true for you too. Your performance in the sales presentation is decided before you say, "Hello, my name is." The inspirational impact that you have leading your staff meeting is decided before you walk to the front of the room and say, "Good morning." The envious looks you get when you take your shirt off or step into the pool in your bikini, those oohs and ahs were earned when no one was watching. The value of this Darren Daily was decided before the lights were shining and the fountain was turned on and the cameras were rolling. It was decided in the hours that I put into the thought, the drafts, the edits, and the preparations, all things that happened when, none of you were watching. You see, when I interviewed the now late great Jack Welch about the key to winning, he said, the game is won or lost before you begin, based on the players that you put onto the field and how well you have prepared them to perform. John Wooden said something similar to that effect as well. He said, when the game begins, my job is done. Now, all I can do is watch to see if I did my job well enough. Everyone wants to focus on how to do the performance, the thing that gets all the attention. But the performance is determined by all those things that happen when no attention was being paid. And this is true of your leadership, of your friendship, of your marriage, of your parenting, your health, your spiritual life, and your mental life. You win when no one is watching. It is what you do before the game begins that determines whether you win or lose when the lights are on and the audience is watching. So write down your thoughts in your Darren Daily Journal about how this might change your mindset, your approach, and your behavior with your goals. And share your thoughts about today's Darren Daily episode in the comments below.
Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? I hope everybody can hear me okay. First, before I start, I'd like to ask everyone to make sure you're muted unless you'd love to speak, making sure that the phones don't go off or any other things. But I wanted to thank you for taking the time to be all together this morning and talk about what we've been through, the spring market, the summer market, the fall market, and what to expect in the future. Before I also begin, I want to thank our amazing partners, our affiliates, for the heartfelt message. Not everybody was able to be part of the video process, but for those of you who were, thank you. We have amazing partners that really take care and have our backs throughout every aspect of the real estate transaction. So a big thank you to them. Secondly, I'd like to ask, if you don't mind, turn on your cameras if you can. Obviously, you know, I don't mind if you're wearing shorts or pajamas or a t-shirt. It'd be great to have all your cameras on to be able to feed off each other's energy and to be able to actually see a lot of smiling faces. It helps me feed off that energy by seeing you're nodding or saying, no way, I think you're crazy, Tim. I don't agree. I don't mind that. I just like to get as much energy from you as possible. And yeah, we have a lot to cover. We also have a great keynote speaker. Chris Leader is going to be talking about the road to recovery. In our conversation, he was extremely looking forward to wearing the matching pants to the blazer and the dress shirt he'll be wearing later when he's with us. I'm not sure if he will be wearing those matching pants now. But our big plan was to be together. We worked really hard. We had a banquet hall booked. Our plan was to have temperature checks on entry. We were thinking about having a maximum registration of 50 people with, as they walk in, everybody being registered. And as you walk in, you would have had a muffin.
I think it's okay.
Sorry, guys, whoever's on not unmuted, please mute if you don't mind. So the whole plan was to come in, have a muffin provided, a coffee in a paper cup, water, and everybody's seating 6 feet apart and no tables. And we would have had our affiliates and providers at the back of the room with plexiglass and everything else. And it would have had myself and Chris Leader on the stage, both having people in while having everything streamed to everybody who wasn't able or comfortable in attending. With the numbers rising the way they did, we just felt that it would not be the right way to carry ourselves and the right way to expose everybody in any way, shape, or form. So we decided to do it completely virtual for the first time. And we're hoping that by December, that we're able to still do some type of an event for the holidays. We're still planning on doing something there. We're not sure what, but we'll see how we can, how the numbers are at that time. Now, those are two great videos. The second video really resonated with me, How to Win Big, and I had to share it with everybody. And How to Win Big is because nobody really, everybody is chasing the big shiny lights, you know, and they're focused on the listing appointment or the client appointment, but they're not focused on what they need to do to get to where they want to get. And if there's one person who's guilty of it through, you know, what we've gone through in the past 6 or 7 months, it would be myself. The lights were on me, but the light that was on me was really the refrigerator light late at night, and I was munching away when nobody was watching. And I am carrying about 10 extra pounds right now, and thank goodness for Zoom. You can't see anything from here down, but nobody will be watching when I hit the elliptical but myself. The only ooh and ah of me wearing a bathing suit was for Mary when she oohed and nod with, "What the hell happened to you?" You have to watch how many cocktails you're having, or how much barbecue you're having, or how much you're eating late at night. But the key right now is to really focus on the recovery for all of us. And that includes our eating habits and everything else that goes with it. But our collective goal, I know that Larry and I speak a great deal about this, and our admin team talk a lot about this a lot, is just like the video said, how to prepare each and every single one of you for what is happening outside in the marketplace, what has happened, what is happening, what we expect to happen, and how can we prepare or help to prepare you for any new circumstance as it unfolds. Obviously, we look back at, you know, March and April and May when we were in complete lockdown, and some of us probably wish we did not stress as much as we did at that time, and that we had the opportunity to enjoy more of the quiet time with our families. Some of us, you know, look back, and we talked about this in one of our meetings. We don't want to look back and say, geez, I lost an opportunity to really focus on my efficiencies and focus on my business and what services I provide and how I can provide, how I can be a differentiator in the marketplace when it comes to our clients. But ladies and gentlemen, that it's not too late. You can still focus on, you know, what you can do and prepare yourself. It is still happening a lot within a lot of us. We all wait for the last minute to understand near posts. We all wait for the last minute to understand how to deal with customer service. We all wait till the last minute to deal with an objection that may come, from a potential client. One of them who does not want to work with a cooperating agent, for example, or how to deal with deposits and other factors. Let's really work before the lights turn on and work on what happens before. It's extremely, extremely important that we still take the opportunity to work on what happens behind the scenes. Now, 2020, I have this slide up. I wanted to bring you through memory lane. In February, we talked about how promising 2020 will be and just how many things are going to change. And it was dubbed as the year to refocus. For those of you who attended the Spring General kickoff meeting, that was the exact slide that I had up on the stage, and it was the year to refocus. And that's why I actually started with the How to Win Big video from Darren Daly. I found it inspirational, and I think that it's still timely 7 months later than when it was before. 2020 was also the year of milestones for many of us. I myself so far have celebrated my 50th birthday. My daughter has turned 18. Our daughter has graduated from high school and started first year of university virtually. Our other daughter has celebrated her 16th birthday. We've celebrated so far our 20-year wedding anniversary, and our youngest daughter is turning 10 in about 3 weeks. And in November, RE/MAX Ultimate is also celebrating a milestone of another 5 years, since 1985. So 35 years of being in business. My point of me reminding you of all this is just telling you how promising 2020 was for our family, and to state for the record that we celebrated every single milestone. We decided to live and enjoy every single one, and I'm hoping that many of you did the same thing. It also taught us a lot that there's a lot of turbulence that we went through, and the great and positive message I want to give to everybody is that the difference between where we were in March and where we are today. Yes, the numbers are rising. The numbers are rising at a kind of very fast rate, but there's also a lot of numbers that are going up and down on a daily basis and causing a lot of emotional turbulence. The good news is that we went into a tunnel at the end of March and April. Picture us being on a train. I used this analogy in an industry presentation I did a little earlier, but picture us being on a train and we've entered a tunnel, and finally we can see the light. Well, we exited that tunnel in June of this year, and the light was bright, the market was extremely active. Many of us capitalized on the opportunity of having the spring market moved forward into June and July. And in many cases, in most areas, what we witnessed is whatever we've lost in April and May, we've regained in July and August. And now, being in October, we're entering another tunnel. And at least this time, we have the experience of what we've went through in going through the first tunnel and realizing that, yes, there is light, and the light is not as far away as we first thought it could be. And we have the opportunity now to go to the well of experience and say, yes, we'll get through this. Talking about numbers and concerns, I do want to share with you that some neighboring offices around RE/MAX Ultimate are completely shut down. And I need to share this with you to be real, and I need to share this with you to have cooperation. RE/MAX Hallmark on Leslieville has shut down their office. RE/MAX Hallmark on Merton and Davisville has shut down their office due to COVID cases being within the office and admin. This is serious. Everybody is healthy and safe, but we can't let our guard down, and we do not want this to enter into our environment in any shape or form. So the protocols that we have in place right now are working. If you're entering the office, you're wearing masks, you're being very careful, but we need everybody to respect that nobody else should be coming to the office unless they are a client, and they're restricted to the front client rooms and the rooms that are meant for meetings, and not having people walking through the office and touching any form of objects whatsoever. I'm also going to ask that none of our team members bring any family members, especially school-age children, into the offices. Look, I got kids, 2 of them are in school. I know many of our agents that have kids who are homeschooling, which is fantastic. There's been a lot of tough decisions being made by a lot of parents that, you know, in our offices, in our part of our team. But if children are part of the school population, there is more exposure, and we need to kindly request that no family members are entering the office. We may need to have, the next step, if numbers continue to rise, is we may need to have, go one step further, and that step would be to have all our agents who enter the office only enter through the front doors and sign in when you're in the office. And it's just to know who's there and who's not, because we do have multiple offices and we have multiple access points with key fobs. And by having multiple points with key fobs, we don't know many times who enters the office and who leaves the office. And we want to do everything possible to have everything under control and to be able to make sure that everyone is safe the entire way through. I thank you for your understanding on this. I care a great deal about your health and about the health of each and every individual. Many of you don't know, I have not made this public. My father has experienced a great fall last Monday. He fell off a ladder and he broke 9 vertebrae. He had 3 cracked ribs and a collapsed lung. They had to airlift him to Sunnybrook Hospital from Markham Stouffville. So one of the most serious part of the stories is he actually called me when he was being boarded onto the orange helicopter to be transported. And I said, well, you know, have a safe, you know, comfortable flight to Sunnybrook and call me when you get there. And he said he will. About 10 minutes later, I pulled into my driveway. And as I opened the door, I watched the helicopter fly over me. So it was quite the experience knowing that somebody in that orange helicopter was your dad. So I haven't been able to visit my father, nor will I visit my father. Everything's being done through FaceTime. But one of the reasons why I'm sharing this story is that A, he's going to be okay. He's going to live a very normal life. He's already taken his first 12 steps, but there is a recovery time, and I don't want him to be exposed to anything that he doesn't have to be exposed to. So we're doing everything through FaceTime. So nobody knows in our offices or in our interactions what other people are dealing with at home, and what autoimmune or possibilities like underlying conditions can exist. And we want to make sure that we don't expose them. So again, I do believe that the numbers in October are going to be a lot higher, and it's going to be an emotional roller coaster. And in closing on this topic, I want to share something with you. Because of my forecast on the October numbers of COVID, and we'll talk about the market after and how it's going to be affected, I had a State of the Union meeting with our admin team. And this is what I told them. I told them that many of you, or many of our agents, we will not know what pressures they have at home from family and what kind of emotional roller coaster they're going through. And it's quite possible that, you know, if their clients are not making decisions, and if they're feeling emotional stress at home because of elderly parents or other underlying conditions that may exist and their discomfort in being in public places, that all these emotions may translate to you. And not to take anything personal, that this is just what we're going to go through in October. And my promise to you is that November is going to be a lot better, and December is going to be even better. And if there is a third wave, we will be all the more able to manage even that one. Our emotional state will be even better if it's not if it's not completely eliminated by the spring. Now, me being positive and me being who I am, and many of you know this, I've actually booked March break. I booked the flight, and I'm hoping that by March break, I'll be able to travel with my family and be able to enjoy 7 or 9 days away. The biggest decision factor for us would be that we don't have to quarantine for 2 weeks when we come back. If we don't have to quarantine, and if some form of vaccine is readily available and starting to be administered, I do believe we'll be in a better place. So let's talk about right now. Let's talk about the market update. It'd be fantastic to talk about what we've been going through and where we're projecting things to go. But first and foremost, we have to understand where we are and what makes a market a market. So what makes a seller's market? When there's 4 months of inventory or less. That's the definition of a seller's market. And as you know, for the last 25 years, we have been in a seller's market. We have had consistently under 2 months supply of real estate. There's been moments that we've had 3 weeks supply and 2 weeks supply of real estate. And if you remember the beginning of 2017, when the market was just completely in overdrive and fifth gear, redlining, that there was moments where we had under 3 weeks supply, we were closer to 2 weeks supply of real estate. And what that means in inventory is that if a single home was not listed for sale in 4 months, there'd be nothing for anybody to buy. So I just want to provide some insight on that. Now, let's talk about a buyer's market. What makes a buyer's market is when we have 6 months or more of real estate available, and that's over 180 days. And again, we haven't had a buyer's market since 1995. And for those of you like myself who are newbies to the business, this is my 31st year. I remember exactly what 1989 of March when the taps turned off. And I remember everything that went on right through to about 1995. 1995, 96, things were a hell of a lot better. People didn't believe it, but people were starting to buy real estate. By 97, we were experiencing multiple offers, and people were like, what are these? We've never experienced this like this before. So, and the price increases. So that's what a buyer's market is. And then we're talking about a balanced market. And a balanced market is when there's somewhere between 4 and 6 months supply of real estate. So where are we now? Well, if we're discussing resale condos, I would say that we are hovering in the buyer's market range. I am very, very close friends, as many of you are aware, with Jamie Johnston of Remax Condos Plus. We talk on the phone at least 3 to 4 times a week. Sometimes our wives say that we talk to each other more than we talk to them. It's actually kind of cute. We have a fantastic relationship, and I respect the man a great deal. And we talk about resale from my side. We talk about condos from his side. So on pre-con, we'll talk about pre-con in a second, but right now there's been some condos that have dropped by as much as $100,000. But typically that has not happened in most markets. Overall, I would say there's a 5 to 6% drop in resale condo values. There's many factors of why this has happened. Obviously, the immigration slowdown, the short-term rental being totally wiped out, and a lot of investors, putting their properties on the market. And our research has shown that rental rates have dropped by 20%. So that is, a lot of people say that's not good. I say it is good because, it was not sustainable before of where they were. And obviously, when you're seeing a drop in values is because you're seeing a drop in the rental rates. And that's what they're kind of completely tied in hand. Let's keep things in perspective though. Perspective is, look at where we've been since 2017 in the last 3 years. We've had 12, 13% increase, 14% increase in the condo values, while the resale market stagnated and pulled back because of the fair housing plan. We've watched condos due to affordability, just completely explode and just run right up. So having a 5% or 10% decrease when you've had traditionally in the last 3.5 years, a double-digit increase year after year after year, keeping things in perspective is not a bad thing. Let's talk about the resale market of homes. The summer months post-COVID has demonstrated just how resilient the market is. As of this morning, I was in conversation with many of our agents in the last several days, but even as this morning, watching multiples happening throughout Mississauga, happening in Burlington as well, happening in Oakville and Hamilton and Milton and Orangeville, Stratford. Amazing story of just some of our agents going to Stratford and finding their clients, finding some great value there. Part of it is people shuffling their lives, reanalyzing where they want to be and just how often they have to be at work or in the city or in the offices, and actually making their decisions. It's not all because of affordability, but for the most part, what we're seeing is the big push to surrounding markets around the GTA, even as far as Port Dover. And a very interesting trend is just how many of our agents and agents of other offices that I've spoken to brokers, because when this is happening to us, what I want to do is go outside and find out in our own way if it's happening in other offices. So we've had probably around 20 to 25 of our agents subscribe to other boards in surrounding neighborhoods, surrounding communities. So for example, Hamilton and Niagara and Burlington and the Oakville Milton board as well. People have subscribed to their MLSs because their clients want to buy. The great news, ladies and gentlemen, is that for every 1,500 listings that are on the MLS, there are only 150 listings that you're not seeing. But I understand those 150 listings that you're not seeing because they're not on the Toronto MLS may be the important one. Time will tell us and demonstrate to us that it's imminent that we will be having an MLS that will be accessible in the entire province. But we've had some of our agents drive as far as north of Barrie. We're talking about, Sudbury, and we've had certain situations where people have had to drive because clients have wanted them to represent them. So we're seeing a lot of rush and run up values in surrounding communities. But just to come back to our own backyard, it's happening right in our own backyard too. The resale market is very active when you're looking at the more affordable price points. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, we're seeing that there's a lot of activity in the higher price points as well. We've been involved in sales in the past several weeks in values of homes in the $3.5, $4 million, $3 million range. So it's people who are in that price point are unaffected by the marketplace or their job security, and they are acting. Discussing the commercial market, we have a very, very strong commercial sector in our brokerage. Very proud of all of you, their teams that are working so diligently and hard during these times. The hospitality sector has gone through a roller coaster ride, and I've watched them persevere and represent clients just amazing in every way. People first. I was very surprised to see a lot of transactions happening early on to halfway through the year with a lot of closings in September and October. But now I'm seeing that there's a lot of postponements of those as well. But there's still a lot of activity in the hospitality. There's a lot of promise that restaurants especially are pivoting and finding ways to serve that sector. Obviously with the colder months coming and worried about the outdoor dining, the city of Toronto looking to restrict how many people are in the restaurants. There's going to be some pressure there, but at the same time, that hasn't happened yet. And I have a lot of conversations of a lot of people supporting restaurants in a big way. Commercial and investment real estate is booming. We have not seen any slowdown there whatsoever, completely unaffected by COVID of this year. A lot of land assembly. I don't want to use the word foreign investment, but I need to use the words foreign investment. So there is a lot of money entering the marketplace. There's a lot of opportunity here, and there's a lot of people coming to Toronto. Maybe they're working on fear. They're working on finding people who are fearful or unable to afford a commercial property. We're seeing a lot of transactions in the commercial and investment sector, and in the industrial sector too. One thing that COVID did is it helped the industrial sector of commercial just absolutely boom. And it boomed because industrial is not what you think. It's not just manufacturing. It's also the idea of having storage and being used for e-commerce, i.e. eBay, Amazon. One thing that we have experienced at all our locations is that we've become an Amazon depot for many of you. I think we get just as many checks that are delivered for deposits. We get Amazon packages and boxes. We can actually start charging a handling fee and probably make it a profit center. Don't worry, we're not going to do that. I'm just being funny with you, okay? But we're seeing just how important the industrial sector is and just how much more of an e-commerce environment there is. Does anybody have any questions about this or any comments? Okay, so I'll continue on. Just admitting some people as we're going through this. So, big news. Oh, I got a question.
I have a quick question. Sorry, I have a quick question in regards to the commercial market. Yes, my question regarding the commercial market. What are your expectations in regards to like downtown retail and the hospitality industry? So we already seeing the shift, but for 2021 or like the late 2020, will it affect the market?
So what we're seeing, what my projections, my expectations, everything that I'm seeing, everybody I've spoken to, is that the downtown hospitality sector that depends on commuters being on the GO stations, going downtown with the intent of working in an office environment are the ones who are suffering the most because there's not that type of traffic anymore that there was before. A lot of big companies, I could run them off, whether it's TD or it's Google or it's any other office environments, they've actually have told everybody to work from home right through to December. So this is not going away in October, November. We're probably thinking that at the minimum, you're looking at January before there's going to be any type of normalcy announcement or some form of announcement of people coming back into the office environment. There are a lot of buildings that are rethinking floor plans. There are a lot of financial institutions that were in the midst of building some mega offices that are now rethinking the mega offices. But just as they are rethinking it, there are other sectors that are gobbling them up. So for an example, I would give you Medcan. Medcan is probably 1 or 2 stories downtown. Now they're going to probably be 4 stories in an office building because people have to go in and they need to have their checks done and their stress tests done and everything else in person. You can't do that virtually. So we're seeing that in certain parts that they're actually expanding their operations and practices. So, but I want to give you also, Rita, and to everybody else, a little bit of history here, and I'll talk about Rogers Telecommunications. About 5 years ago, I'm driving on the 401, going to visit a broker out towards London Way, and I was talking to an executive at Rogers, and at that time, the reason why I called them is because RE/MAX meetings that we were going to, they were talking about rethinking offices and how to reorganize offices, and do we need to have large offices? And they were talking about everybody working from home and the push to work from home. And I didn't quite buy it because in all our 3 locations, we have no available office space. In 2020, even with COVID, we have no available office space. So people need, there is a great amount of agents or the personalities, like the way we're built in our DNA, that we need to have an office space outside of our actual home office. But I asked the executive at Rogers, I said, what is Rogers doing right now? He said, Tim, and I shared the story obviously of why I'm asking. He said, Tim, a year ago, we sent everybody in our sales team home. We wanted everybody to go home because we thought we could save on bricks and mortar. A year later, we brought everybody back because our numbers, our targets were not met in the same way as they were before. So it became a long answer, but my short answer now is that I do believe that the office buildings in downtown Toronto will fill up again, and we will be back to a lot of the same types of habits and lifestyles as before. Also in condos, don't forget, people moved into the city because they wanted to be able to walk to the cool restaurants and walk to Harbor Square and be by the water and be part of the, the art and the entertainment and the sports arenas and all. It's a lifestyle choice, right? So I don't believe that that's going to be vacuumed out of the human DNA. I sincerely and humbly believe that the human race is a social species, and we will, like goldfish and squirrels, forget just what we went through in 2020, and we will be back to living the way we did before. And to touch on that, very, very importantly, touch on that, it happened in June and July in our offices. People were walking in without masks. People were just walking in like COVID never happened. And that was just 2 months earlier. So I hope I answered your question. So let's go back now to the incorporation. We can finally incorporate, but ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of buzz about incorporation. There's a lot of excitement. I don't mean to be political with you right now, but there's a big difference between the way the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board is advertising and updating all the agents. And it's a very different way, very different in the way OREA is advertising or updating the members. OREA is all about, yay, we've done it, you can do it. TREB is, okay, wait a minute, speak to your broker, speak to an accountant, speak to your legal counsel. It's not for everybody. It's being launched October the 1st, but. What I want to do is right now today is share with you some very, very important factors. And the factors are that, number one, we will be having specialized webinars with PwC and our corporate tax lawyer that we use at RE/MAX Ultimate. Anthony and Steve will be doing sessions with a presentation, and they'll be actually outlining every single thing you need to know about a personal real estate corporation. But what I want to do today is also quench some of your thirst for this knowledge to make sure that I provide you the basics so you have a good understanding. Incorporation has some advantages, and those are a tax deferral. It is not saving taxes. You're paying lower in the corporation and you're deferring taxes. Number two, it provides you with a different mindset and an incentive to save and increase your net worth. And number three, it's an excellent vehicle for retirement savings. Before I go on and jump on some more details, I want you to know that if you are a partnership within the brokerage, if you are a husband and wife, a father and daughter, father and son, mother and daughter, mother and son team, this is two separate real estate corporations. It's not one. You have to have two. You cannot income split within this type of corporation. The only way that you can income split is by doing a sub brokerage, because there are key differences between one and the other. The other aspect here is that you are not removing any of your liabilities, and you're not removing any of your responsibilities to RICO, and to organize real estate, you are personally still liable. Thirdly, you become an employee of the personal real estate corporation. If you do a sub-brokerage, you can still be an independent contractor within that. And what does that mean? Well, it means that you have to expense all your expenses under a personal real estate corporation at the corporation level. So your car, your advertising, your conferences, your personal development, all happens at the top end. If you have a sub-brokerage, not what just got accepted, but what was before, then you could expense at the corporate level and you could expense at the independent contractor level. But the key difference that many of you want to know is that, one more thing. Your spouse cannot be a shareholder with this new program. Your spouse or partner can only be a non-equity shareholder, which means that if something happens to you, they can liquidate your corporation, they can pay things out, but they have no ownership of that corporation. Now, I just want to touch on those things, but the most important thing that you probably want to know is, so what's the big deal here? What am I saving in taxes? So any income you make after your expenses is taxed at your marginal tax rate of anywhere between 27 and 53%. As obviously, the more money you make, the higher the tax rate. If you have a personal real estate corporation, your corporation pays tax at 12.5%. So going back, it's a tax deferral. It's an incentive for you to save and increase your net worth. And it's an excellent retirement savings plan. So whatever money you don't spend, you leave it in the corporation. It gets taxed at 12.5%. Whatever you pull out would be on your tax rate, but it stays in the company. So say, for example, you have, for every 100,000, it's $12,500 in taxes you would pay compared to 40,000. So there are some things that you need to know that we'll walk through, obviously. But I just wanted you to know the key points of how it works and that we have your back. We will definitely have the webinars set forward in the next 10 to 14 days. And my promise to you is that I will not let you make a mistake. I am not looking at you becoming a personal real estate corporation if it's not for you. I will have a personal one-on-one conversation to discuss your spending habits, your lifestyle really is what it is. How much money do you need to live and how much money do you expect to save? And what do you want to do with this money that is left in the corporation? These are a key conversation that we have to have on a very, very private and confidential personal level. And I know that the PwC and our corporate account will also have those. Typically, they've told me that around $200,000 in net earnings saved, at that point, it starts to make sense. Nevertheless, my promise to you is to have your back and not use it in a way to recruit or to retain or to, like, that's not the point. The point is I want you to make the right decision. And I want to give a shout out right now to Larry as well. Larry and I have worked very hard to make sure that a lot of the rules that are allowable in this new personal real estate corporation are in the benefit of the agent. You would be surprised to find out that accountants do not have the same advantages now as real estate agents. Real estate agents and doctors have the same type of advantages now that they didn't have before. I know this is a very, very important topic, and I want to see what kind of questions I can field from the group right now. Any questions?
Tim?
Too bad. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Awesome job, by the way, on this. And I truly believe that the presentation to show the pros and cons to everybody, the message is sometimes not as clear as we'd like it to be. We're here for everybody here. And the reality is the accountants, yes, they're going to be giving you some realistic advice. But at the end of the day, you have to be real about your own, your own value and what you're trying to bring to the table when this is really about saving money. Nobody wants to pay taxes. We all get that. But realistically, you're also going to be a target too, because the CRA goes, no problem. Once this opens the floodgates, believe me, they will be on you in this thing called an audit. It's a horrible word to say, Tim. I know that just gave you a bit of a goosebumps there. When anybody's audited, not cool. Not cool.
So we go between 20 and 30 audits a year with our team of agents. Unfortunately, one of the first things they do is ask for the independent contractor agreement, and they ask for a list of your closings and your expenses and how you actually report those things. And this is why sometimes, we're a little bit tougher, with the way things are being done. We want to make sure that we don't lose our benefits as broker. So if we don't comply with the right rules and the way that we're supposed to do it, then we can't even protect our own agents. So there's certain rules that we also follow. I mean, I want you to think about, leading by example right here. And I'll tell you the benefits of actually being incorporated really quickly. If you look at, my entire life, I believe that real estate is the absolute best vehicle for retirement. And I want to explain why. Not because I'm a real estate agent of 31 years, and not because I'm a broker of record. But if you think about, if I share with you that, I bought my first sixplex back in 1993, and I used the equity that was built up plus the paying down of the mortgage to buy my next sixplex in 1998. Now, obviously, there's a lot of luck here because the market really has run for 25 years, 28 years all the way up. There's, very, very minimal amount of dips, but a lot more complete trajectory upwards. In 2006, I bought the Bayview building where we have our main office. You fast forward almost 8 years. I bought the second building on St. Clair by being able to refinance and take the equity out of that to buy St. Clair. And then 5 years later, I bought Dundas in the same way. But I want to share openly with you that my personal income is not what a lot of people think it is. Number one, it's the parent mentality. Everybody gets something in their plate, and then mom and dad eat last. And mom and dad don't eat everything that's left in the pot, because what if people are hungry after, and you have to save as well. And secondly, by me paying 12.5%, well, at that time it was 15%, but by the corporation paying 12.5% and not 53%, you can see how the money was left in the corporation to be able to do what's better, and that is to acquire real estate. Now, what is the purpose of my story? The purpose of my story is that time happens. You can't stop time. I can't believe I've been the broker of record for 14 years. I can't believe that I've been 31 years in the industry. I can't believe I've been 20 years married and I have an adult child, and one that's, in grade 11, and I have a 10-year-old. How did it all happen? So time happens. So by being able to save, defer on taxes, again, by paying less in the corporation and having a lot of self-control, and by acquiring real estate, again, going back, it's a tax deferral, it's an incentive to save and increase your net worth, and an excellent vehicle for retirement savings. What I've been modeling here and trying to do is, one day, if God allows me to be on this planet for a long time, is to replace any income I'm earning by being an agent or by being a broker or being employed by RE/MAX Ultimate and having hopefully some passive income from the properties. Again, retirement savings. So what the corporate entity can do is it kind of makes your mind change, and it helps you get into a different mindset about where you are in your life and what you want to do with your savings and the income that you're earning. So you don't wake up after 20 or 30 years and depending on a deal, right? I've heard many jokes before, that people say, you know, oh my God, we're in a recession, you know, God, one more boom and I won't piss all my money away, right? And yet, you know, people still do after the next boom, they forget what they went through in the last recession. So that's what the incorporation model can do, is put you in that mindset and put you on that path to a better retirement in the future. Let's move on. Treb, there's been a lot of conversations. I've been on the phone, and we luckily avoided a fine with Treb. We have to be very careful. There is a $500 fine that's going to be imposed in the event that agents are doing things they shouldn't be doing. So Rule 108 is very clear. Rule 108 says that in the event that you are deliberately avoiding or circumventing the MLS system, you know, you will pay a fine. And what does that mean? It means, well, deleting and relisting, the actual listing on a frequent basis, inaccurately displaying the property type, performing frequent immaterial updates. And what does that mean is you're putting a comma to make it run through the system again. You're changing taxes by $10. You're rewriting the broker's remarks and client remarks by changing one word or two words. These are all situations that Treb, a lot of members are doing, and Treb is going to put people in compliance. The idea of also terminating and relisting a property with a $10 price adjustment or a $100 price adjustment or a $500 price adjustment, if we're doing this on a regular basis, that is finable. So if you're going to change the price because you were holding back offers, and this came from the horse's mouth, right? I call Treb. If you're going to hold back offers for 5 days and you didn't get the offers you wanted and you want to relist it as a fresh at a new price, they let that slide. But if you're going to do, instead of doing a price adjustment on a weekly basis, you're going to do a cancel and relist on a weekly basis, then that is circumventing the system. And I'll tell you what, how. Days on market, for example. How can a property be on the market for 6 weeks, but canceled and relisted 4 times? It sells in the last time after 3 days. So how is that integrity of data, is what the MLS department of Treb has said. So the intent of trying to find these, you know, funky, you know, fun ways to put the property back on the market, or to have it flush through, you know, through like the notifications, so people can see it as if it's new, is very concerning to not just Treb. It's actually concerning to CREA as well, because Realtor.ca has to update the system on a regular basis, and they're creating some duplicates sometimes. It's causing a real kind of bottleneck in the way things are happening. And these are really, really serious concerns. I know you must have a question about this. Does anybody have a question about this at all? Okay.
Tim?
Well, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to weigh in on this too, just to go a little bit one step further. What we're seeing here, and you know and I know, that the attempt to cancel and relist, the form is not, that's not what it was designed for. The cancellation, you're also jeopardizing the fact that you're gonna have a listing. So some of you, when you cancel that, even though you may have some seller goes, no problem, let's cancel and relist. As soon as we cancel it, they can list with anybody else. You just forfeited a listing. So yeah. the MLS department, or the MLS committee, is made up of very savvy realtors that know what's going on. We know who one of them is, who's the chair. So the amendment is actually the proper form all of you should be using when you're doing a price change. So this cancel and relist is just a red flag. And believe me, they're going to keep their eyes on it. And Tim was right. That $500 fine may not mean a big deal, but you're also on their radar for 2 years, your name. which could go to a $50,000 plus for termination, to be honest.
I have a quick question that what is the frequency that TREB penalize? So
It's gray. It's gray. Oh, the frequency of penalties. I don't have that information for you. I'm sorry.
No, what I was trying to ask is that like somebody's canceling and relisting in a different price for like, you know, being top of the list or appearing as a new listing. Basically, that's the goal. If somebody does that once, does that 2 times, does that 3 times, what is the number of times that TREB will analyze as?
Well, you know what, Rita, and to everybody listening to this call, do you really want to be in front of the professional standards panel trying to explain ourselves? That's the best answer I can give you, right? So they're going to look at it as, you know, there's a lot of gray there, unfortunately. They're going to say it's evident that you've demonstrated that you are trying to put it on the top of the list, as you said, or circumvent or do things like that. So my point is, if it's going to be a one-time thing or two-time thing, it's one thing. But if it's being done all the time and it looks like it's being done, they're going to penalize. We don't want that.
And my other question is that how do they penalize? TREB pointed out the way you're doing it on MLS, or another agent reports you?
There's a software program that picks this up. It's just a script that's run on the Toronto MLS. And it also can be from a complaint from an agent. So it's always been the same way for all infractions. One is, I mean, many of us have received an email that says you have to remove contact listing agent or remove a virtual tour that's branded. And if you don't remove it within 48 hours, you will be fined. That is a script on a software program that picks keywords up, reviewed by a human being and sent out. So there's multiple ways of doing it.
Tim, may I just follow up with that and then I will go to Jordan. Tim, on that note, you're right. They pick it up automatically. And quite frankly, there is a brokerage that I am aware of right now that has four of their people up before arbitration on this, 4 of them. So they're using it as a guinea pig and they're going to start to see if they can hunt. It's a gray area.
Yeah. Jordan, thank you.
The question is, how can they hunt when it's such a gray area? Like if I have a listing where we do multiple offers, don't get anything, instead of doing a price change, we want to do as a new listing. Are they going to start, you know,
so
no concrete black and white rules is what I'm asking you, essentially.
So there is a committee right now that's going to do the black and white rules. They're working on that right now for that exact example. You know, I've actually talked about that. You know, they said if it happens on a one-off, it's one thing. They're looking for the people who are, you know, 99% of our, I would say 99.999% of our office, this does not happen, okay? But there's no question there's offices that do this all the time and agents that do this all the time in a great way, right? So let's not just put ourselves in that same, you know, place. You know, I always make a joke, Jordan, and everybody else, that doesn't happen here, but it happens there, right? So there is that gray area right now. Their biggest goal, what they want to see, because I want to move through this to get Chris Leader on too, is they want to see the data have the highest integrity possible, right? They much rather see a price change than cancel and relist, because they capture the days on market the right way. Right? So that's what their biggest goal is. They want the integrity of the data to be more pure than what it is right now. Okay? I'm going to move on. Sorry, go ahead.
Just quickly. Quick note. I don't think putting a comma or those little things really updates the system anymore. It's not like 10 years ago when it really did. I don't really see that. I don't think it really happens so much anymore unless it's a price change or something, right?
It still does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Tim, if our fiduciary duty is to our client, and we know that the market is moving as fast as it is, and we know that if the listing looks new, it's going to get more activity, And we know that if we have a PC beside our listing, it immediately looks stale. Then, you know, really, what choice do we have in terms of, you know, reacting to the market, especially when it's moving as fast as it is, in the best interest of our client?
So, terms of use of the MLS, Glenn, is the best way I can answer that. The terms of use says that if it's a link, you have to name it a link and not a semi or not a detached. If you want to use the MLS, then we have to display the name of the seller. If you want to use the MLS, then you cannot terminate a listing just before a sold date, so you can, you know, suppress the price. It's all the terms of use of the MLS. So they're leaning on the terms of use is if you want to use the MLS and if your client signs a listing agreement, then they agree to the terms of use of the MLS. And the terms of the use of the MLS is to use this fashion of updating information on the MLS. And I get where you're coming from, but I want to throw out, you know, the other side, right? It's not my side. I'm just throwing out the other side of how their position is with anything to do with MLS.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So I'm going to go on to deposits really quickly. I'm going to skim through this, but still touch on the key points. If a deposit is not provided, we still need a mutual release, ladies and gentlemen. Number two, from a legal perspective, just because a deposit is not provided does not terminate a transaction. And yes, we can put the property back on the market based on a lawyer's direction to make sure that that we cover our assets. As I always say, we need a lawyer's direction for that. Now there is a form circulating out of Newmarket. It's a REM article. It's caused a big stir that, you know, the brokerage expects cooperating brokers to sign it, that says no other offer was signed during the time of this offer, confirming that funds are readily available and that the buyer hasn't made an offer at the same time on as a current property. And my comment is don't sign that form. Don't have your client sign that form. I believe that it provides a negative image of our industry to the consumers, wondering if we're yahoos and wondering, you know, how do we govern ourselves? And I just don't want to create another herd mentality that if they're doing it, it must be right. Very, very, very quickly, Larry and I joke on a regular basis. We had a joke this morning and he's laughing. We were talking about a situation between our office, between an agent interaction. And I said to him, it looks like you gave the right answer and it looks like I gave the right answer, but it looks like Facebook gave the answer they wanted to hear. You know, so even though we gave the right answer, one of our agents went to Facebook and got the answer they wanted to hear, and now they did something they shouldn't have done. And we had to call immediately and, you know, an update and remove what we had to do, right? So a deposit not being provided does not terminate a transaction. If anything, all the money can show up on closing day and the property has been sold twice. We need something, a mutual release, some form of direction from the buyer that they will not act on this transaction so we can move forward.
Tim, can I jump in?
Yep.
People don't realize you don't need a deposit for a legal contract.
Exactly. You do not need a deposit. And that's what thank you, Barry. That's exactly what I was trying to get across, that just because a deposit is not provided, it does raise a flag of the offer. It does raise a breach of a small little part of the offer, but it's not a breach that terminates an agreement. You do not need a deposit to have a deal done in closing day. So if the buyer shows up with all his funds on closing, then the seller is in breach for not being able to close with that first buyer. There could be many reasons, right? And I'm just not a big fan of adding clauses and forms. Ladies and gentlemen, we were pushed to add COVID clauses because the registry office was going to close. Remember that? The registry office did not close and it won't close. So we got to rise above these pressures that we feel from some of our colleagues. Last and not least, before which is very important, I have two announcements after this, is wire transfers. There is a big difference between wire transfers and e-transfers. We're seeing, here's something scary. we had a wire transfer that went into our trust account reversed and taken out, okay? So we fixed that, we put a flag on the system, we informed the banks that that is not a lawful thing to do, and they were able to fix it quickly, but that's something that I wanted to share with you. But wire transfers are specifically needed for our trust account because they provide the full details of the buyer and all their information for FINTRAC and compliance reasons. Taking a check to our bank and depositing it in our trust account does not provide the same compliance requirements. If it does happen, and does happen, we need a copy of the check and we need all of the details of that deposit that the bank provides for our records. And we also need you to inform our admin offices, our admin team as soon as possible, because we're having a hard time matching up wire transfers and deposits with transactions that have not been handed in yet. So it's really important to be a great team and be in lock together to make sure that we do not have any compliance issues. But here's some exciting news. I'm working on creating an e-transfer, not an e-transfer, sorry, it's not permitted, but a payee setup in our bank. And what that means, if we can get it done, the banks are working very hard to pivot and help us as an industry. It's a great idea that we pushed forward recently. Imagine being at an off presentation with your client and they add the payee in their banking account on their mobile phone. And they add the payee and they add RE/MAX Ultimate as a payee. At that moment of offer acceptance, we have a deposit in our trust account that cannot be reversed. So I'm giving you a glimpse into the imminent future where you'll see, I believe that if we do it, other brokerages will do it. It's just a matter of how to do it properly to be at, like, so it's like being Enbridge or being your Visa or being, your Hydro, your realty taxes. You add the pay in your bank, you make the payment. It's better than certified. It's in our account, not reversible. It's a payment made, and it's the most secure way. Tony.
Yeah, I'm just a little puzzled here. If you have a deal and you don't have consideration, do you have a deal?
You have a deal.
Because our offers are under seal.
You have a deal.
The consideration is the parties have signed the agreement, both agreeing to that. We're not the lawyers here, we got Gary, but the reality is consideration is an act for an act, promise for a promise. An act for a promise. I promise to give you the money, you promise to give me the house, thank you very much. Again, we're not the lawyers here, but reality is it's consideration, and they'd have a hard time not to fulfill the deal. Someone, as Tim alluded to, the actual clauses in the agreement that have breach, one would be in breach, therefore they're going to hold them to it. That's the key.
Yeah. So
I have another question, sorry.
Yes.
If a client does a direct deposit, not a wire transfer, I had a deal this week where direct deposit was also an option. And when it comes to a wire transfer, you have like a full page report of what you're going to get. When I get a direct deposit from the client, or the question is with the wire transfer or the direct deposit, do I need to fill the FINTRAC record of funds sheet?
Larry?
Absolutely. FINTRAC again does not have a sense of humor. Just be compliant.
But I just understand, like, I never received any money. I'm not took the check to the thing. I'm as a real estate agent, so I'm just like trying to understand, like, when I have a record of fund, the client goes and does the wire transfer.
So the record of funds, Rita, is with the brokerage, not with the bank. Exactly. Don't forget, the money's being put into our trust account. So the record of funds is with our brokerage, not because the bank received it, right? You're representing RE/MAX Ultimate. RE/MAX Ultimate received the funds.
Yeah, we're the acting brokerages. Tim is 100% right. We have to still.
Okay, but okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. So what do we got here?
Can I interject quickly?
Sure.
Regarding the deposit, that's why I think I've asked you guys this before. Whenever I see a Schedule B from another office that says the deposit's not received within 24 hours, this deal is null and void and the seller can, look at other offers. I always cross that out and fight for it because of course that's not right. So I advise people to cross it out. Let the other agent know, hey, if there's a accident in school and the parents got to rush to their kid and they forgot to go to the bank because they had to go to the school for attending something emergency happened. You can't have a deal go bad just because something happened and they were force majeure caused them not to get to the deposit, not by their choice. So always cross that out, and most of the time it should be okay.
Yeah, perfect. I agree. So I'm going to move on to this last part. Look at your screen here. We have some. I want to give a shout out to Rebecca on this one. Rebecca worked very diligently to create these Instagram story GIFs. It's for promotion. They're all at RE/MAX Ultimate branded. It talks about your Toronto realtor, that it's sold, it's coming soon. You're the RE/MAX Ultimate agent and RE/MAX Ultimate. And it's really, really great work here, just allowing you to advertise and market yourself. All you have to do is you open your stories, you tap on the little icon there, you type on the GIF, I don't know, it depends how old you are and what you want to call it. And then you search Ultimate Agent, and you're able to have all these GIFs on your story. I hope you guys enjoy them, and a big shout out to Rebecca. The last announcement I'm going to make, which is extremely exciting, is here we are. We have our new Toronto Homes for Sale app, and it's really excited about it because it is a referral. It's meant to provide you with referral-free leads. This app knows where you are. So you see there are 6 waterfront properties right now, and it gives you the average price of those areas and those properties. It gives you, you have the ability to assign it to a client. The client, whenever they search, will be under your name. That will expire after a period of time that we haven't decided, probably about 60 days. As you can see by the geo following you around AI, it basically pulls up all the properties, no matter where you are in the city. In this case here, I just turned on the sold toggle. You can see all the little red ones. Now all the sold properties are showing up. What's really, really cool about this is when you click on it, it prioritizes all our listings first. If there is a listing in the area that you are searching, or the client is searching actually, it gives you the opportunity to click on more at the bottom, and then you can ask, what is my home worth? It is routed to our agents in alphabetical order, 1 lead per person. It goes into the RE Marketer contact management tool where you have to log in and get notified. As I said before, it is a virtual office website app. And what's really cool about this too is that when you actually click on it, it gives you all the market and price trends. This one here is listed by Sotheby's. Gives you all the market and price trends. You can search schools that are in the city, so your client can, there are the market trends right there. It gives you Markham, Mississauga, Brampton, Toronto, Oakville, whatever area you want to put in, you can. You can put waterfront communities, you can put Mimico, you could put by semi-detached, you could put by condo. You click on it, there's a school search. It gives you all the scores based on the school search as well. So it's a really, it's a real amazing app that we're launching at any point right now. And the biggest goal of this app is to provide all of you leads from that app. And they're referral free. They're going to be for TorontoHomesForSale.com. And coming very, very soon, we're also working on a commercial app. So if you're part of our commercial division, you have not been forgotten. You're always thought of. We are going to have all the industrial, hospitality, and commercial listings that are not discrete listings, unfortunately. We're going to work on the listings that are exclusive to see how we can add those as well. But again, they will be prioritized by whose listing it is first. I hope you find this exciting. I really myself do find it exciting. I think it's a great tool for all of you to benefit. And again, you're going to be able to actually be with a client. You open it for them, they click on the link, and it connects you and the client together. So when your client is on our Toronto Home for Sale brokerage app, all the information and leads will go only to you. Again, we can't have it forever because, as you're aware, buyer rep agreements and listing agreements expire once they're fulfilled. They're not our clients forever. I don't know why some brokerages have that mindset, but we have to follow up with clients and keep in touch with them. So if you have any questions about that, it'd be my pleasure to answer them after the meeting. Right now, I want to say thank you, and I want to introduce, I hope he's here. I bet he's wondering, like, what's going on? Probably almost lunch for you, right? So Chris Leader is passionate, funny, humble, entertaining, all the traits you can possibly want in a speaker. Chris Leader has been in real estate for almost 40 years, so he's got a few on me, and has a wealth of knowledge to share. He has been a sought-after international speaker and trainer for over 25 years. I rave about him, agents rave about him, because he likes to connect with his down-to-earth style, and they trust what he teaches because he has truly walked a mile in their shoes. Today, Chris will talk to us about staying healthy, staying positive, and most importantly, how to get listings during this unprecedented time. Please join me in welcoming Chris Leader.
Yay! Thank you, Tim, for that great introduction. Fabulous.
1 second, Chris. I'm going to make sure that you have full access, if you don't mind.
All right. Well, Tim's getting us organized. That was a wonderful introduction. Thank you, Tim. Almost read it the way I wrote it. I appreciate that. So,
are you wearing the matching? Are you wearing the matching pants to your shirt? I don't know if you were there earlier, but I said that you were looking forward to wearing your matching pants to your blazer and shirt. So I'm not sure.
I got all dressed up this morning for you guys, broadcasting from the wilderness here in Barrie, Ontario. All right.
Welcome.
Okay, we're just going to pull our slide deck up, and we are ready to go. I wanted to say, again, thank you, Tim, for that introduction. And I was on earlier today when you guys were getting things organized, and I was listening to Barry and Larry talk about their vinyl record selection and their 8 tracks. And then Tim went on to say he'd been 31 years in real estate. And I think that's really important because these guys it's not their first day at the dance, and this isn't the first time they've seen choppy weather in the real estate market. Having exposure to that level of experience is incredibly valuable. You know, it doesn't take a great captain to sail a boat on a sunny day, but it takes a great captain to sail through a challenging storm to a safe harbor. So having that level of experience around is really important. I think a lot can be said for grace under fire. So let's get into this presentation. I want to say that the presentation was originally, its first draft was done back in March when we ran into the virus situation. And about every 2 or 3 weeks, it goes under rewrites because the marketplace is changing so rapidly and there's so many things going on out there. So I think you'll find it to be a real practical approach at making sure we're getting business. I'm going to hang back at the very end in case anybody's got any questions for us. And Rebecca, I'll turn that back over to Rebecca and she'll work with me to answer any questions. You're welcome also to type any questions in the chat box as we go along. And Rebecca's monitoring. She can chime in and bring some of that stuff to my attention if it's time sensitive. The 4 things I want to cover today, like Tim said, was I want to talk to you about staying healthy and why that's important. Staying productive during these unusual times in our real estate business, making wise investments, and Tim spoke again about that today, so it was fabulous, and prospecting for listings right now because your inventory levels are at historic lows, and there is a tremendous opportunity if your energy is focused in the right direction. So those are the 4 things I want to cover. And I wanted to start off by talking about staying healthy and why it's important. You're most likely the primary income earner for your household or for soon to be your limited liability corporation. And you have a responsibility, not just a responsibility to your business, but to the people that are counting on you. And you really can't be as good as you can be obviously if you get sick. So I think there are some common sense, practical approaches to things we should be thinking about every day to make sure that we operate at peak performance levels. Now, I want to say that I am Canadian. Obviously, you heard me say I'm in Barrie, Ontario, and I still have a broker's license after all these years, and I keep it up to date. But about 90% of my business comes from south of the border, and it was refreshing. And I was very proud today to listen to how you're approaching the virus situation. I can tell you a lot of my American clients have a very cavalier attitude about how serious this is. I was talking to one of our coaching students down in Florida this week. The restaurants are at inside 100% capacity, obviously outside as well. A mask is not mandatory, no social distancing. The downtowns are packed, and it's no wonder they have a problem down there. On the other hand, when I look at how good we are and how thoughtful we are as Canadians, it really brings how serious the situation is to light. And I applaud Tim and the way he's handling things with his office. Tim and Larry, I think it's great what you guys are doing. So first thing is staying positive. I think it's fair to say with the amount of changes that we've gone under in the last 6-9 months, that it would be fair to have, some mental, we're feeling uncomfortable about what's going on. We're feeling uncomfortable about the changes. This virus continues to bring uncertainty into our lives. We see, we settle down, we see a spike. They're going to let us go to restaurants. Now they're going to peel it back. They're going to put kids in school. Some of them they're not. I mean, the changes are constant, and it's hard for us because we need consistency in our life, especially given the fact that we live in a commission space where we're basically get up, even in a good real estate market, we get up every day unemployed with the objective, by the end of the day, someone needs to employ our services. I compliment you for that, but it's hard in this space. We're well-versed when it comes to pivoting and adopting new strategies as an industry. I heard, I think it was Tim talk about some of the changes that his career has gone through, but I went back, Tim, and I did a little bit of research. I started in 1981. And in 81, we had high interest rates as a result of high inflation from the late 1970s and an energy crisis where they were absolutely certain we were going to run out of oil on the planet. People were pushing their cars. And many of you who weren't in the business at that time wouldn't know, but the government was involved in the 70s with a program called the AHOP program to make home ownership more affordable and easier for people. But of course, like most things the government touches, they screw it up. And that came home to roost in the early 80s with high interest rates. But that was the market that I started in. And then we climbed our way out through the 80s, and we had a fabulous time right up to about 1989. About 1990, like Tim was talking about, we ran into the Gulf War, the SNL scandal in the US, high oil prices. In its wisdom, the Canadian government introduced GST. At the same time, they signed the NAFTA free trade agreement and watched a lot of our labor jobs get transferred overseas. After 1990, Tim talked about it, we clawed our way back out of that recession to run into one in 2001, the dot-com bubble. And of course, if you were south of the border, it had a big impact, 9/11. After we got that recession behind us, we worked really diligently. Canada, for the most part, missed the recession the US had in 2008 due to the mortgage debacle. But there is always rumor of a slight recession we had in 2017 in November, 30 days in November, and the market kind of went quiet and people went and panicked. But setting that aside, this is 2020. We have a virus. We have the US election. We've signed a NAFTA free trade agreement again, or whatever they're calling it today. The point I'm trying to make is all of these situations were caused by different things. And you could say this is the absolute first time we've ever dealt with a virus, and you would be accurate. But the strategies and principles that people like Barry and Larry and Tony have used over decades to work through difficult markets and out to the other side are relatively the same. There are some practical business stuff that I want to share with you, that no matter what happens in your life, when you have these skills, you acquire these skills, you see things from this vantage point. then you will insulate yourself from the next recession. If you intend to stay in this business for the next 20 or 30 years, then I'm going to say, based on statistics, we typically see a recession about every 10. And odds are you'll see another 1 or 2. And like Tim was saying earlier, and it was the plaque that I literally had on my broker's desk in 1992. It said, "God, give me one more boom, and I promise I won't piss the next one away." So you need to go through a couple of tough ones to really kind of organize your life and your business so that no matter what happens in the future, you will have insulated yourself from any effect that the market has in terms of its ups and down swings. The cause of the market shifts are unique, but how we get through them is virtually the same. So talking about staying healthy, and I applaud you guys. I think you're taking it very serious, and I'm concerned about how cavalier my American clients are south of the border with the situation. As we continue to deal with outbreaks, and there's been a talk of a little spike, and things are changing, and we were going to, like Tim said, we were going to be allowed to get 50 people social distance in a mat wearing masks at an event. We couldn't do it. They clawed it back to 10. Are we going to have Thanksgiving this year? Rob Ford would have would say to be very cautious about that. Here's the point. I think it's important to stay home wherever possible. It's safer at home. I go by, say, a patio on a Saturday or a Sunday a couple of weeks ago, and you see the patios packed with people drinking beer and they're having fun. And I understand that a lot of people are tired of being sequestered at home. But again, I go back to the fact that you have a responsibility first and foremost to your family and to your business. Every time you leave the house, the risk goes up. That's absolutely unnecessary. The risk goes up that something could happen. So I think it's more important to be thoughtful about this stuff. And if you are going out, my recommendation is to follow Health Canada's guidelines on what to say, stay safe. Certainly not Donald Trump. Now, in terms of staying healthy, one of the things Tim alluded to was his routine has been challenged because we're not getting up early, we're not going to the office, we're working from home. Maybe in some cases, we're not getting suited up with our Sunday best on to go into work. And there's been a change in stuff. And it's challenging. We have kids at home, in some cases being homeschooled. So the routines have been broken. And we are an industry that I believe requires schedules and routines, again, to operate at peak performance levels. Routines give us a sense of normalcy, and they bring calm to the chaos and give us a sense of control. So my suggestion to you, here's the first one I have for you, is I'd recommend you still get up with the sun every day. You get up and you and have your morning rituals. This requires not the discipline to get up, but like Tim was talking about earlier, the discipline to go to bed at night. So it's time to turn off the TV. It's time to get to bed and get up early. And I'll give you some morning routines to go through. I would recommend that you get back to exercising. I'm a bit of a gym rat, and to be honest with you, yesterday I suspended my membership at LA Fitness. I've been a member there for a long time because of my travel schedule. There are gyms everywhere that I can work out in. The problem is that even with social distancing and people cleaning the gym and spraying down everything, and the fact is, based on what I've read so far, is that the virus can be airborne. And to me, I think it's a health risk. Do I miss doing some resistance training? The answer is absolutely yes. So what am I doing right now? I'm getting up early and going for a walk every day to help relieve some of the stress. I know that when the body moves, the mind grooves, and you're more likely to be creative and energetic if you get up and get moving, get the blood moving. It improves our mood, improves our mental clarity, and it reduces a little bit of stress. So from the gym perspective, I would recommend working out at home. Maybe get some yoga videos on your iPad first thing in the morning, get out for a walk. Yes, it's probably not going to be as effective as working with your trainer in a gym, but at the same time, I think that we have to do something so that we don't reappear from this time period 20 pounds heavier. And Tim talked about it. He said, you know, I've got some pandemic poundage, and that's the fact that we've fallen into those habits of, you know, maybe not eating the way we should. Initially, I think when we've all went into this situation, we looked at it as being on a forced holiday, and we went to the grocery store and we loaded up on all the goodies that we wouldn't normally eat in a regular day. And we gave ourselves a break from the routines and the schedules. But now this has gone on so long, we can't afford to do it. So I'm going to challenge you again to think about what you're eating, think about your healthy eating. And if our immune system is under attack with the virus, it only makes sense to take vitamins. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if they work, but I'll tell you what, it's a investment that I'm willing to make. So I go to the health food store, I buy really good vitamins for a man my age with the idea that, you know what, if it doesn't work, no harm, no foul. But if it does, then it's worth the investment. So I challenge you to do the same from a health perspective. I would say that one of the challenges we run into is how we're mentally feeling through this period of time. Again, our routines bring a sense of consistency to our life. And when those routines are broken, then we often find ourselves questioning things, or if we have too much time on our hands. Honestly, from my perspective as a trainer and a speaker, pre-virus, in 2019, to give you an idea of my travel schedule, I spent 287 nights in a Marriott hotel in a 1-year period. So for me to be at home for the last 6-9 months now has been a real change. It's certainly given me time to be more thoughtful about writing and doing research and so on. But I miss my routine of getting up and traveling every day to the next city. So I have to find time to reconnect with the things that I believe are important to stay mentally healthy. One of the things I was taught, and any of the guys and gals who have been around for a long time will remember these. We were taught years ago in the early stages of my career to use daily affirmations. I mean, it's no surprise we in real estate run into a tremendous amount of rejection, and under normal conditions, we can get down on an opportunity that didn't come through, a seller that didn't commit, or a buyer that wouldn't pull the trigger. In a virus situation with limited inventory, there are all kinds of other issues. So my suggestion to you is to visit the concept of daily affirmations, first person, present tense, positive thoughts. And I would repeat them like a mantra or a chant 2 or 3 times a day, just to help break up some of the negative stuff that we're running into and remind you how great you are, how wonderful of a person you are, and how much you have committed to your clients and their success. The other thing I was taught to do was use a gratitude journal. And again, often we can get distracted by the problem at hand, maybe a multiple offer that you didn't get through in terms of the buy side, a seller that's really grinding on you on commission right now. But you do have a lot to be thankful for. And a gratitude journal reminds us about our family, our children, our wife, our husband, our partner, the great industry that we are in, and the things that we've enjoyed and the things that we've done, and the people who are important in our lives. So taking a few minutes every day and just jotting down 1 or 2 ideas on things that you're grateful will help you remind you how great life is. My mother always said she never wished for me to have an easy life. She said to me, I wish for you, your life will be interesting. And I have to tell you, it has been interesting, and the virus will go down as one of those chapters in my life that I will look back at in my rearview mirror and say, man, do you remember 2020? Because there was nothing like it. Staying informed, not staying fixated. Now, I'm a news guy, and every morning I read the National Post, the Canadian National Post, the New York Times. I read everything that Inman produces, everything that REM produces, and I do a Google News feed. I'm not interested in the gossip. What I am interested in is what's happening in the universe that would affect the real estate industry that I would need to bring to your attention. So I'm a big news guy, but I have to tell you that the news cycle has changed, in my opinion. It's shorter than it's ever been, certainly during the Trump time versus the Obama time. If you catch any of CNN, Fox, or MSNBC, it's like every day there's a storm happening, and just as we get through one, there's another. And it's like they're pulling this stuff out. The point I'm trying to make is that if you get stuck on the news loop, if it bleeds, it leads, it will affect your mental thinking and how you're feeling about stuff. So I'm going to say to you, you know, it's important to stay informed, not fixated. A few minutes in the morning to catch up what happened yesterday, and maybe a few minutes at the end of the day to see what's happened. But don't get caught doing just watching those loops. Staying productive. Staying productive. So I've got somebody who wants to be admitted. I'm just going to tap on them. Hold on for one. There we go. And working from home. So this has created some new challenges for a lot of people, given that the space has changed. And the photo, for instance, I have up there, it's not unusual for me to be on a Zoom meeting with somebody. And last week, one lady had 5 kids at home. She was home studying between the ages of, I don't know, 2 and 11. So, I mean, the energy going on behind her with kids running in and out, and oh my gosh, how do you stay focused and what do you do? My first suggestion is that you're going to need to carve out a space in your house as a designated office. If you haven't done this, and some of you were like, oh, I've got a home office. But again, the number of people I see on my Zoom conferences that are operating from the kitchen counter, they're operating from the breakfast nook or a corner in the bedroom. This is not conducive as a business. It's not conducive to being focused and organized. I would also go on to say that we're going to be doing a lot of video conferencing going forward in the short term. So there's some things that you need to think about. You can see lights to my right coming in, the sunlight coming in. I know in this room, I can broadcast probably till about 1 o'clock, and then I have to change my positioning from a lighting perspective. So where I'm going with this is, how many times have you seen somebody where they're backed up against a window and all we see is a silhouette? These are just small things that we have to be thoughtful about. You should invest in some professional lighting. They're not expensive. You can get them online. And like you'll see, I'm wearing a lav mic that's dialed directly into my computer, again, from a sound perspective. I was listening to some of the commercials, Tim, that we were doing, and 1 or 2 of the guys could have used a lav mic just to take away that sort of hollow sound in the background. So lighting, where you sit, how you're sitting, where you're working. I would also make sure, because we're not getting in the car in the morning, driving to the office, working in a workspace that's designated for work, and then going home and enjoying our off time, we've now combined those universes or those space. I would recommend that you time block and stay on your activities for work. 6 hours on your schedule every day, I think, is a minimum. And again, be careful when we're at home. Many of us have a gregarious personality. We are salespeople. We love people. But with that, we're often easily distracted. I know some of you are trying to multitask while you're at home working. You've got your AirPods in, you got your phone on, but you're doing the laundry while you're talking to somebody, or you're taking something out and preparing dinner. This is not bringing the level of focus we need to our business. So stay on point, minimum 6 hours, time blocked every day, uninterrupted time from the kids, designated space, and set deadlines on your tasks. These are things that we would have maybe done when we were working from an office, but now our schedule seems to have gotten stretched out. Things aren't getting done accordingly. And I just want to make sure you finish the year strong. Now, let me give you a tip on something you could do first thing in the morning to help uncover some business opportunities, stay connected to your past clients and your sphere of influence, or your center of influence. So I was taught this by an agent out of the Ohio Valley by the name of Sean Carpenter. He's a past student of mine, and I've always advocated for, getting something done first thing in the morning before the day starts. Sean took it a step further, and he's developed what he calls his morning high five ritual. Before he has his first cup of coffee in the morning, he goes to his CRM system, his database, and he takes 5 people off his list and he sends them a pre-done email, just reaching out and touching. He also sends 5 other people a text message. He does 5 handwritten notes, the old school stuff with a stamp. He goes on his social media site and he posts something, and he goes to 4 other sites that he's connected with and makes comments. And then he does 5 slide dials. Now, slide dial is a technology that is maybe not as familiar in Canada as it is as popular in Canada as it is in the US, but it is a technology that allows you to call somebody and not ring their phone, an opportunity to take whatever message you have on voicemail and deposit it directly into their voicemail box. So when they get to the office in the morning or they get going for the day, they look at their phone and lo and behold, there's a message there from you and they think, man, I didn't even hear my phone ring and there's a message. How did that happen? So these 25 touch points on every morning he does before 8 a.m., that's 125 a week, that's 500 a month, that's 6,000 a year. Even if a minor fraction of those converted to doing business, it's an activity you can do every day before 8 a.m. that would have an impact. Morning high five. Staying productive. I would recommend you put some time on your calendar every day to do a tech cleanup. One of the great challenges I have as an in-class instructor is the lack of technology skills often our salespeople have. And most of the stuff I'm doing from a sales perspective today is built on a tech platform and requires a basic understanding of how to use technology. So if you're not good with it, this may be exactly the time to take some courses about how to get better with stuff like Microsoft 365, for instance. Spend a little time every day cleaning it up. I would recommend that you move your files to cloud storage. And again, you may think this seems very elementary for some of you, but I can't begin to tell you the number of agents that don't even understand the concept of cloud storage. You should be using a VPN because you're a remote worker on all kinds of unprotected networks. You should be using some sort of password management today to make sure that our passwords for everything we use are sophisticated, but it's virtually impossible for you to remember 100 different passwords for 100 different systems. So I'd recommend some sort of password manager. The other thing I run into often is people's hardware is not synchronized. So that means their smartphone is not connected to their tablet, which is not connected to their notebook computer. So often I'll find that there is 1,000 emails in somebody's inbox on their smartphone, and this only adds to the confusion. The only thing that should be in your inbox is something that is yet to be dealt with. If you've dealt with it, move it from the inbox to a subfolder or delete it and get in the habit of doing it every day. And make sure your hardware is synchronized so whatever you delete on your smartphone when you're on the run will be automatically deleted from the rest of your hardware. And again, we should all be using a CRM system, and everyone should be on a drip campaign to stay in touch with our past clients, to keep them informed on what's going on in the real estate space, and of course, to look for opportunities when they're ready. Now, if you don't know how to do some of this stuff, and I could go on a tangent about some of the technology, the best thing to do is Google it. If you don't have an answer for something, get in the habit of Googling it. To use that old cliche, teach a man to fish versus giving him a fish makes all the difference in a person's life. Developing the independence to source the information you need without the support of someone else is really important. There's nothing more frustrating than when you have an idea or something you want to do, and the technology you have, you can't get it to do what you want. And of course, you have to wait 3 or 4 days for someone else to show it to you. If you're anything like me, when I want it now. So my suggestion is teach yourself all of this stuff. And what you don't know, if you can't run a PowerPoint presentation, do an Excel spreadsheet, or you can't run Microsoft Word, then I recommend that you get into 365 and start taking some courses on this stuff if you don't, or the same for any of the Apple products. Tim talked about being smart with your money and talked about being thoughtful as and setting up your limited liability corporations, and he very closely came to the issue of talking about setting yourself up for retirement. And I think that's fabulous that you have a broker that is that thoughtful and that wise. So I would talk to Tim very often about what you're doing and how you're doing it. We want you to make wise investments during this period of time. So during uncertain times, I want to tell you, cash flow trumps profit. Okay, it's very important to have some liquidity and money set aside. So my first suggestion to you is don't spend all the money right now. I have been through 5 recessions. The first couple, I got an awful spanking on. And then after that, I came to the conclusion no matter what the world did, I was never going to participate in a recession again. How is it that you never participate in a recession again? Because you build and insulate yourself, making sure you have resources available. Too many agents this year are having a banner year, best year ever in real estate. And what do? Just like I did when I was 30 years old, buy new cars and fancy boats and bigger houses. I got a lady down in Florida we're coaching. Before I even had a chance to talk to her about it, she's had the best year ever. I was applauding her, and she said, and just to reward myself, I went out and bought my husband and I matching Land Rovers. And I was like, oh my God, it's 30 years later and you guys are still making the same mistakes. One of my agents in Mississauga that I coach told me that he just sold his house for 1.5 million. And because he had such a great year, he bought a $3 million house. And I thought to myself, oh, there's so much better to put money in the bank. So my next question to you is, what is your monthly nut? How much does it cost you to run your personal life? What are you prepared and committed to on that side of the balance sheet? And what goes on in your business life? Where are you spending your money? And can you then can you cut out the frivolous expenses, the luxuries that we might have when it looks like the train is never going to come to an end? Again, I want to go back and say there's nothing like having cash in the bank. There's nothing like having the resources to give yourself confidence. And I will go back and even take a guess that if you got your real estate license and you joined Tim, I bet you when Tim interviewed you to join the brokerage, and if you were a brand new agent right out of 99 Duncan Mills Road, I bet you Tim said to you, you need to have 6 months worth of money put away just to get things rolling. Too often I find agents, after they've been in the business for a while, they throw out best protocols, and of course they're feast and famine. And I would really recommend that you follow Tim's direction and always have a minimum of 6 months worth of money tucked away. The other problem I've seen people during this period of time because of the uncertainty is that they've cut too much out of their operation and they've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. They've cut all their business expenses, all their advertising, all their marketing. And in the process, they've hurt their business because there's, like Tim said, there's a lot of great business out there. You just need to be pointed in the right direction. I would recommend you focus on short-term revenue than long-term brand growth right now. This is a great time. Things are selling very quickly. If you happen to be a listing agent, you're doing really well. And I'll bet you Tim told you when you got into the real estate business, if you were going to last in this business, you needed to be a listing agent. Listings are the way to the name of the game, and listings are the way to the top. So if we're focused on that, I want you focused on short-term investment opportunities that would short-term investments that would uncover immediate opportunities. My question for you is, what could you spend money on right now that would generate leads right now for listings? Listings. All right. Now, continue your marketing in your geo farm. Some of you have 3 or 4 years, maybe 10 years into a farm. There is no value in turning off the tap at this point, but make sure your message is sensitive in terms of the environment we're in terms of COVID. At the same time, if you're using your CRM system for campaigns like market updates and newsletters, again, let's make sure our campaigns are relevant to the present market conditions everybody's in, what's going on, and the virus. And social media ads. There's a lot of people who've cut back all of their spending because they're really concerned. And we know that everybody's online today. I used to say pre-virus, probably 94% of all buyers started their search online. Today, I would say 100% of all buyers start their search online. So where should you be looking at making some investments? It should be in some of your online opportunities that we can use for lead generation. Now, wise investments. Some of you need to upgrade your hardware. Again, in my classes, I see this all the time. Somebody's running a 9-year-old notebook computer and they're really frustrated because it loads slow and it doesn't have the memory. The other thing I run into all the time is somebody has got an Apple 5 iPhone and they can't run all those cool apps Tim's creating for you guys, and they're frustrated. So about every 2 to 3 years, you need to update your hardware. That's both your phone and your computer. Now, you do not need to buy a $3,000 computer. We just bought a decent computer for someone in my office yesterday. Theirs blew up, and I think we were able to pick it up at Best Buy for around $800 or $900. So that, every 3 years, and some of you are I run into people sometimes that are so cheap that they end up actually affecting opportunities because they don't have the technology and they don't have the hardware to run an efficient business. So no more excuses. If you don't know how to do it, take courses, upgrade your hardware. This is a great time to do it. And as we move forward during this period of time, I am absolutely certain we are going to be using more technology as we go forward. And I think that our industry is finally being pushed to adopt a lot of the stuff we should have 3 and 4 years ago. Now, I wanted to talk to you about prospecting for listings. I'm all about the listings. My broker 40 years ago, 39 years ago now, actually, 39 years ago when I got into the real estate business, her name was Betty Baumgardner. Betty sat me down my very first week as a young man. And she said to me, young man, if you're going to make it in this business, you need to be a listing agent. And I'll bet you Tim's telling you the same thing today. Many of you are frustrated. You have qualified buyers and you've got pulled into that relationship and you've worked diligently to find them a property. And when you find a great property, lo and behold, 10 other people want it as well. And the odds go down significantly that, that you'll be the one. They don't, not 100%, but you've got a lot of competition. Now, I heard something this week and I want to bring it to your attention because of my exposure in the US market. I heard one of the Canadian coaches suggest that it's a great idea to make a video from your buyers to your sellers. And I'm not a legal expert, and I know there's lawyers on here with us today, but I'm going to give you my insight based on what I see in the US. You should not make videos of your buyers and offer them to your sellers as a way of convincing them that you have the most adorable young couple with 2 kids to buy their house. And because I would say in the US, that would go against fair housing regulations. A seller shouldn't choose a property based on the color of somebody's skin or the makeup of their family or their sexual preferences or how they approach their lifestyle in terms of it being alternate lifestyle. So if I happen to be a single person who maybe doesn't have children and I lose out my deal to somebody who does, that could be considered as discriminatory practices. I don't know of it happening in Canada, but I can assure you in the United States, when I have compliance officers in my classes, they pop up like a prairie dog to say, no videos. And I heard somebody say love letter. Again, I would be very careful about that from a discriminatory perspective if you're opening up a can of worms. Again, the Canadian lawyers will be able to insight on this, but I can tell you that this does not fly in the US and it would not be a good idea. In saying that, what they do in the US on multiple offers as a listing agent, they number the offers and they have a spreadsheet that they present to the seller. And what they say is, this is price, this is deposit, this is closing date, this is conditions. And they go through and they choose based on the number, not on the name and not on the background of the seller, to make sure that they're compliant and that everybody has been given an equal opportunity to look at their offer on its merits alone. Just food for thought, things I see in the US that I think you might want to talk to some of the legal minds that are part of your organization to see what their insight is. The other thing I'm going to say is I want to talk to you about prospecting and going out and getting listings. And I had somebody in the last couple of weeks say, Chris, I understand. It makes sense to me logically, but I feel like an ambulance chaser when I'm calling people during a virus to see if they've thought about selling their house. So to change your thinking, and I was taught this years ago in another recession by one of my mentors, what they said to me was, you're doing good work. First of all, there are people out there that need to sell. And they need to talk to a professional of your quality and caliber that would treat them as a client, not as a commission check. And I want you to know that when you reach out and connect with these people, if your mind is right, then you'll understand that you're doing incredibly good work. Incredibly good work, because when you list a property for sale, it's not only you or your staff that you employ, but you employ stagers, photographers, videographers, mortgage people when the offer gets written, lawyers who close the deal, people in title insurance. There will be movers, there will be pod storage, there will be renovations, home improvements, and the list goes on and on. You are the beginning of the food chain. And when you list a property, you engage a whole lot of people in your community to go to work. So if you want to do something really good to help people out, right now, my suggestion is go list a house, because when you do, the knock-on effect is significant. And the number of people you put to work that makes a positive contribution to our environment and our economy. So best thing you can do if you want to help out your city, if you want to help out your county, you want to help out your province, you want to help out your country, is go list a house this week, because in doing so, you're going to employ a lot of people. Prospecting can be challenging right now. So it's very hard for us to do open houses. You know, it depends on where I'm calling. If I'm calling into Texas, they got everybody doing open houses the way they always have. So, and I would imagine our open house experience will change depending on the virus. We might tighten things down a little bit and we'll loosen things off. It's also hard right now to get out and door knock with a mask on. Of course, people are reluctant to open the door and have those conversations. And the clock is going to change very shortly. So that complicates it as well. Networking events, some of you are amazing at the Knights of Columbus, the Kiwanis, the Rotarians, the Builders Association, Chamber of Commerce, Kids Little League and PTA. You are wonderful at doing these things and you define all kinds of business opportunities, but you have to admit, it's changed right now. You can't go to a social event, a charity event, a Kiwanis event, a Rotarian event, and make those connections. So most agents are spending less on marketing right now because they're concerned about the future. They're spending less on online lead generation because they're being thoughtful about their resources. So what would I suggest? I would suggest you pick up the phone. Now you have to be call compliant, and I know Larry and Barry and the guys who've been in this business for any length of time, they'll know what I'm talking about, but there are opportunities if you're call compliant. Let me give you an example. I have been in my house and I am very thoughtful. Like I said, we packed up our place in the States in March. We headed back to Canada and I have been in my home in Barrie, Ontario since March. Do you know that I have not had one real estate agent knock on my door and ask me if I want to sell or tell me about the house that sold down the street or when it was listed, not a just listed, not a just sold, not a door knock. Nobody has called me at home. Nobody has asked me if I want to sell my house. And I don't want to sell my house, but I'm just saying, and I would say to you, oh, and even in my mailbox, the only thing I've received in the last 9 months, and it came in the last 2 weeks, is an Engel and Vocal agent has sent out 2 postcards. That's the only thing I've got. And I live in a nice house in Barrie. I'm not in some big mansion on the water, but I live in a nice house and it's a good neighborhood. And I'll tell you, as quickly as they go up, they sell. I think there are people on my street right now, if somebody would engage them in a conversation, would think about making a move. So my suggestion is to get out and talk to people, and the most effective way, I think, is by using the phone, but you got to be call compliant. Some people would say, well, who should I call? And I'd say, I'll give you an idea in a minute in terms of areas, but when you do call people, right now, there was a statistic that came out of Italy that said since people had been sequestered and stuck together, that the divorce rate had gone up 30% because partners and spouses had decided because they spent so much time together, they didn't really like the other person that much. That being said, there are people right now that are thinking about separating. There are other people in it. There's at least 2 houses that I know of on my street, almost directly across from me. One guy's an Air Canada pilot and his wife's a flight attendant. They've been laid off for 3 years. So my thoughts are, with the right conversation, those people would put up their house. Another guy on the street, he's a sales guy. I ran into him on the way to the mailbox last week, and he hasn't worked in 6 months and was given a severance check. And again, these houses I live in, I'm not in a mansion, but it's not cheap to be here. So in saying that, these guys got to start to rethink what they're doing. So there will be some financial issues. The other thing that we're not taking into account, and the Canadian government has been very good at, is giving people money. But what happens when that money runs out? 50% of small businesses have closed. What does the knock-on effect look like in our communities? Will there be more stuff going up for sale? You know, CMHC says yes. Moody's says yes. There was another report out, I think it was RBC this week, and they say yes. Now the real estate marketplace says no, inventory is really low. We can sustain anything. The one thing I can tell you is I'm not an economist, so I try to read the tea leaves to see what's going on. Do I think there are opportunities? I do. And I think that people are going to relocate for their jobs. You know, maybe they don't need to be in the city now because they can work remotely. So they might look at the suburbs. We're seeing a lot of migration, you know, from the city where you guys are out to the suburbs. And point well taken, Tim talked about kinetic energy and why people live in the city. It's because of the environment and it's cool and there's lots of stuff going on. You take all those city people and move them out to the suburbs, they get out there for 2 or 3 years, they're going to be like, I hate this. This is like watching paint dry. So you're going to sell, move, and move them back in again. So I think you're just going to recycle through that because we go through cycles. Now, what happens to the people in the suburbs? They move to the small towns. And where do the small town people go? I was talking to a guy yesterday. he sold his house in London, St. Thomas area, and he's now renovated a 4-season cottage up in the Muskokas. The point is there's movement, but my question is, are you getting your piece of it? People are moving for different reasons. You need to be talking to them. You have to have conversations with people to uncover what their thoughts are. So, and they need more space. We need Zoom rooms. We need private offices. We need a place to teach our kids. Open concepts are not as popular as they were because we need some point of separation. Without a sense of urgency, though, people will hold off. And you have to admit the timing is really good right now. Premium on their property, and you'll hear me say this, and interest rates are at a historic all-time low. So lots to take advantage of, but you need to have conversations with people. You have to have meaningful phone calls with your sphere. I challenge each and every one of you to get on the phone and start talking to people, not because you want them to sell their house, but how are they doing? What's going on in their life? Are they homeschooling the kids? Are they working from home? How are they enjoying the Zoom experience? What are they doing, you know, to kind of break up the monotony of being at their house? And in the process, it's normal for them to ask you, by the way, what's happening in real estate? And I think it's you can talk about the market, how houses are selling really well, how people are taking advantage of the low interest rates and often reorganizing what their space is going to look like and making moves. So it has been one of the bright spots, but also remember who you're talking to, and they may be very concerned about their economics. So there's no value in whistling as you walk past the graveyard. Keep it on the low down, keep it polite, keep it respectful, but be thoughtful. As Tim said, you never know the load somebody else is carrying. So be kind. There are people, I'll be honest with you, the man I talked to who lost his job and got a severance, I ran into the mailbox. I could see, he's been out of work for 6 months, and I could honestly see a little bit of fear in his eyes. And I thought to myself, and he's a father of 2 children, I thought you need to be kind and you need to understand that there are a lot of people are carrying a different load right now. So we've been fortunate in real estate, but remember, real estate is a lag indicator to the economy, not a lead indicator. So be thoughtful and be careful about your resources. I'm not sure what the beginning of 2021 could look like. The other thing that I think in Toronto, we've seen in Toronto and Vancouver, we've seen house prices rise very substantially. The question I would have for the economists is at what point, if incomes are not going up and house prices are, at which point does that start to have an effect on our real estate marketplace? Now, FSBOs, I think that you guys should be calling them. They need us more now than ever, and you'd be surprised how many people are trying to sell their home privately. My suggestion is you should Google it, but you want to find out what's motivating them to sell, because if it's important and it's urgent, they should be willing to talk to you. You're going to need to do a digital marketing. You need digital marketing to create the right buyer interest, and you need to be able to talk to them about how you're going to not just market at a local level, but how your digital campaign will not just sell across town, but it will sell globally in terms of how many eyes will be viewing the opportunity, their property. They don't understand the added liability around COVID and COVID clauses and things they should be thoughtful about, sanitation stations and how to show a property to reduce the problems people have, that could have. Then I want to say to you that reconnect with your dormant leads. I was taught to do this years ago. Some of you are way too young to remember this, but when I sold real estate, the secretary answered the telephone. She wrote messages on a notepad that was carboned, and then she would put those notes in our mailbox. 3 or 4 hours later, I'd walk in, get my message, and I may or may not call you depending on what mood I was in, but I always had a spike on my desk where I put my messages. And I can remember running into a bit of a dry patch, a slump. And one of the experienced agents in my office said to me, go back to your spike and pull all your leads. And I'm like, why would I do that? And they said to me, somebody in the last 6 months wants to buy a house, but hasn't made that decision. You cross paths with them get back in touch. Now I have to tell you, making that phone call is kind of awkward. You know, it's like calling somebody off a guest registry from an open house. Hi, this is Chris from Remax. You were at my open house 9 months ago. If it's okay with you, I wanted to check in to see if you guys bought. It's an uncomfortable call, but every time I did it, I got another deal. So from your perspective, if you want to put one more in the hopper, I challenge you to go back to all your old contacts, buyers that you showed houses to pre-virus, for instance. For whatever reason, they didn't pull the trigger. You put them in the rear view mirror and you moved on to the next client. I challenge you to go back and talk to those folks. Those leads may have come in from online open houses. Maybe they were out door knocking and doing your 10 by 10s or your circle prospecting. Could be sign calls or ad calls. The question you want to ask them is, have they moved yet? And why they didn't make a move? Were they looking for more space? Did they want to be closer to work? And what that might look like. So my suggestion is get back in touch. I would look at all the investors, landlords who are advertising properties for rent and Airbnb. I would check out Kijiji and I would be asking the landlords if they want to sell. In some cases, they're frustrated with the rental market and they will be selling. On the other hand, as quickly as you put something up, somebody else is going to buy it. Some people want into the investment market, some people want out. But I bet you if you start looking at these opportunities, you're going to call somebody and they're going to say, you know what, I am interested in selling this property. I'm 81 years old and I have 9 others that I would like to get rid of and clean up my portfolio. You'll never find those opportunities unless you get back in touch, or I'm sorry, if you don't get in touch. Probably the best example of this is I had a client in one of my classes in California. I was teaching in 2019 and I was teaching around Berkeley University. And I challenged one of the ladies who'd been in the business 30 years to go back and get in touch with clients she had lost contact with. Very first year in real estate, she'd sold a lady a house, an investment property around Berkeley University. She got back in touch, and the following week when she came to class, she said, you know, that lady owned 13 houses and she listed all of them with me. Now, if you have any idea what real estate is worth around Berkeley University, how would you like to get 13 listings come in all at once for about $2 million? So I'm saying to you, get out there and talk to people. If you don't talk to them, you're not going to get those appointments. And if you don't get the appointments, you don't get the listings. You don't get the listings, you don't make the money in real estate. So how do you make money in real estate? You talk to people every day with the elegant intent of finding out if they're interested in selling. I would recommend calling, but you have to be call compliant. And I would cold call today. I would call strangers. It's a numbers game. If it was my neighborhood here right now, I'd be calling and saying, this is Chris from Remax. How are you doing today? I live on the same street as you. I was checking to see if you were thinking about selling. If you are going to make calls, I would look for a neighborhood that has at least an 8% turn rate. Now, some of you will be seduced by expensive real estate, but my preference is bread and butter. Give me the everyday stuff that everybody can buy. And as quickly as you're putting up the sign, the lineup starts to the left with people with offers. So where do you get these lists and phone numbers? You can pull prospecting lists using telelistingsincanada.net, but you must check the numbers against the do not call list, and Tim's brokerage needs to be registered with the do not call list. So would I do it? The answer is yes. I would talk to people about no obligation appointments. Right now, people are flirting with the idea of selling. So strong arming them into making a move is not my style. I would let them know that someone is considering moving. I'd offer to meet with no obligation. I can do it in person or I can do it via Zoom. I can do my presentation digitally or in person. If I am in person, I'm very thoughtful about your safety. But if your preference is to do something from a distance, I'm happy to do that as well. People don't want to feel pushed right now. There's enough pushing going on with all the craziness in our universe. So they must trust that you're going to be sensitive to their feelings. Now, that brings us to the Q&A section. And I just wanted to get Rebecca to jump in and see if we've got any questions to tidy up with. Miss Rebecca?
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't have any questions in the chat right now, but if anyone has them and they don't have their mic, feel free to chime in right there. You can type it out and I'll read it out for Chris.
Can I jump in?
Yes, please. Who am I? Oh, there it is. It's Barry. How are you, buddy?
Hi, Chris. Many years ago, I had a very wealthy client that pushed and pushed and pushed. And I finally, many years ago, bit the bullet, paid the $2,000 at the time, went to MedCan. You can't plan. Every year in December, I sit down and work my coming up year. I went to MedCan, it cost $2,000. I've never had medical care like that in my life. I eventually switched to the Mayo Clinic in Toronto, and a Cleveland Clinic, I should say. and they found a kidney issue. It was starting to be a problem. I just had a kidney test the other day. They can't believe how good it is because they caught it fast enough and there's no problem. And I'll live to be 150 with the kidneys I have. But I believe that you should do something like this every year. You get specialists, you get streamlined, because your health is the most important. And the $2,000, now it's about $2,500. It's a write-off. It's a tax deductible write-off. So is it worth it? Yeah, it's actually worth it, because I go every year, I get checked out head to toe. You cannot believe the specialists they send you to. I had a skin problem. I was at the dermatology department in Women's College in 3 days to get fixed something, like wham. So,
Barry, could you do me a favor? I would like the information on how to do that. Could you send something to me on that?
Yeah, private message me or email. Oh, yeah, I'll be happy to. But
I
it's
think
the Cleveland Clinic in downtown Toronto or MedCan. Those are the two. And again, I have a corporation I've had forever, so I just write it through my corporation as a benefit to myself.
I think it's a fabulous idea. And I think the first part of the presentation reinforces how important it is to take care of yourself.
Well, how can you work if you're not healthy?
Correct. Yep, 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry, for that great tip. I'm going to take you up on that suggestion. Anybody have any more questions for me? Boy, quiet group, Rebecca.
Oh, you've answered all the questions.
All right, Tim. Is there anything you wanted to ask me on what I see pretty, like I said, most of my stuff is US based, though I am in Canada and I'm doing work for you guys and I'm doing work for another office here tomorrow, in fact. And, but any questions that you guys wanted to ask me about?
I myself don't have any specific questions. I just wanted to take the opportunity and thank you for being part of our fall general meeting, our annual general meeting. It's always great to talk to you. Always enjoyed your presentations. And I do know that our team has definitely benefited from your message. And if anybody has any questions or comments that they want to fire off to Chris directly, by all means, he's very approachable and really nice guy to talk to. So
thank you.
And especially because he said like 100 times how good I am, right? So it's okay to.
You are. I enjoyed our conversation. We talked a couple of weeks ago, and I got off the phone with my wife, and I said to her, "That Tim guy's sharp. He's very, very." So, and there's a common sense approach, Tim, to your investment ideas and how you look at stuff. So everybody would be very smart to spend a few minutes picking your brain on, how do they go about doing some of the great things that you've done?
Thank you. My biggest concern in our industry, as you know, being 40 years, Barry, yourself, Larry, me being 31, and many other people who have not had this much time in the industry, they fail to realize that the shiny object is such, a big distractor, and the foundation of our business needs to be really what we need to look at. And we all run to, for what I call like survival mode on a daily basis, but we don't take the time to really, map out where we want to be in 5 or 10 years from now. We don't really gauge strong enough how influenced we are by what other people are doing in the industry. Like, who cares what other people are doing? Like, who cares if they're holding up this or doing that? I mean, does it work for you? It may not. So I myself, I always joke with Larry that those front doors at our office, it's our job to like lean on them like this and hold them closed, not because we don't want people leaving our brokers, because we don't want the wrong people coming in and getting some wolves amongst, our people, right? So I myself, I'm going to tell you about incorporation and about your lives and business. I am more than happy, and I know Larry is as well, but when it comes to this financial stuff in corporation, I am very eager to sit down with anybody who wants to have that confidential discussion and walk through if it's right for them or not, for the right reasons. And with that, I want to thank you, Chris. If nobody else wants to say anything, I want to thank you and wish everybody a fantastic rest of the week. And if we don't speak, happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Good presentation, Chris.
Thank you, Barry. It's good to see you, sir.